Can somebody explain to me why West Virginia is supposed to suck and yet they have 7 players selected on the All Big 12 team? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome back in, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, baby, where we're talking West Virginia football, and I am excited to do it. Thank you for joining in. And by the way, I appreciate your all support. We continue to grow. We continue to do extremely well. And I'm grateful for that. So if I seem ungrateful at any point today, it's not that I'm not grateful. I'm just frustrated. So, but let's get to the sponsor really quick, guys. This episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by Monarch Money. And look, when we talk about Monarch Money, take control of your finances today with Monarch Money and use code Locked On College for 50% off your first year. Do it now. Do it yesterday. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, being part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We talk about your team every single day. Okay, so I was supposed to have Jimmori Robinson on tonight. It's not going to happen. Things happen. Unfortunately, things go down. It's not Jimmori's fault, so I'm not going to say that it is. I just think there's a bit of a miscommunication on some things. I'm really frustrated with it. There's been people that have obviously donated for this to happen. And it's not like, it's not like I can give 17 different people $5 or whatever the numbers are, it's frustrating, right? Because people have given for things to happen, and now people who have no business putting their nose where, they get involved without knowing all the facts of what's been discussed and everything. So for me, it's a frustration, but I have to keep my mouth closed or else I'll just make things worse for myself. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens with it. Overall, I am okay with the way things are. I just wanted to let you guys know it's not happening this evening, and it'll be happening in the next couple of days, I hope. If not, I'll make sure everybody gets their money back. It's not a lot of money, so it's less than a few $100s, but still, I think, at the end of the day, that's the money that people work for. West Virginians are kind of being squeezed here because these players deserve NIL money. They do. It's just that the onus is falling on us, we the fans. And, whether you like it or not, we, in some situations have to accept the way things are now. And unfortunately, that's what's going on. So just wanted to put that out there. I don't want to say more because it's definitely not Jimmori's fault. Jimmori's been great the entire way. So I just want to put that out there. All right. So let's get to this topic at hand, because I think here we go with On3. They released Steele and some things that he has put out. And I'm supposed to have Steele on here in a couple weeks. We're trying to work out a schedule for that. But until we can, I figured, you know what? We'll go ahead and just go over this, because Steele has got all Big 12 teams out. And why not talk about it? Because, there's a lot of dudes on here, right? So all Big 12 teams are subjective. I get that too. But I think it's also an indication of where people view your program. I've got a cat trying to get in here. So let's go through the list, and then we'll kind of talk about how we feel about it. Or is there some players that could be on this list that should be on this list? Or there's some players that could be higher up on the list? Or there's some guys that maybe should be off the list, on the list, whatever you want to say. That's kind of where I want to take this. So, and I also want to acknowledge the players that are on the list, because I think that's a great thing as well. And we have 7 players on the list. Also, Steele released a quarterback comp, or On3 or Steele, one of the two, have predicted quarterback, the starting quarterback for each team. We're going to look at that, because I think, a guy like Steele gets told, he sits down with every coach in the FBS and has a conversation, and it has for a very long time. So that's going to be fun to see just what he believes is going to happen in Morgantown. So let's go. All right, starting off pretty strong here with quarterback. Not expecting West Virginia to be on here yet. You know, these guys have a lot to prove, and then at the very top, the Big 12 is pretty good. You've been hard pressed to find four better in the country than Sawyer Robinson, Avery Johnson, Sam Levitt, and Rocco Becht. That's a really strong start, right? So I think all those guys are deserving. I would probably have Rocco Becht a spot higher. I would have Avery Johnson at number one. That's just my personal opinion, because if he puts it together, he's so dynamic and elite. Sam Levitt only had, an incredible year last year as well. Maybe he's underrated. Overall, pretty good room. As you can see right away, we get to a West Virginia player on the running back spot. You got Bryson Washington at Baylor, who had an incredible second half of the year last year. Dylan Edwards at K-State, hard to argue with him. Former, I think he may be a 5-star. He was definitely a 4-star at Colorado, and a super talented guy. Jaheim White, second team, all Big 12 player. Jaden Nixon, Carson Hansen at Iowa State, who's another really good player. Quentin Joyner at Texas Tech. Kanye Udo, Arizona State, and Tawi Walker at Cincinnati. The Big 12's loaded at running back too, but give me Jaheim White on the first team line. I think at the end of the day, I'll take him over Dylan Edwards, because Dylan Edwards hasn't proven as much as Jaheim White has yet. I think they're pretty similar players. They're both extremely fast and explosive. But what Jaheim White has that maybe Dylan Edwards, I don't want to say he doesn't have it, because Kansas State runs a great offense. But I think Jaheim White in Rich Rodriguez's offense is going to be – he's just going to be a huge benefactor for that. And also, Jaheim White's a very good to – I think he has the potential to be an elite pass-catching back. And that's something that doesn't get talked about with him a lot. So there's that. Now we get to wide receiver. Jordan Tyson, Arizona State's a no-brainer. Eric McAllister and Chase Roberts are also no-brainers for TCU and BYU respectively. You look at Josh Cameron at Baylor, the big, tall, lanky receiver. Caleb Douglas at Texas Tech. Joseph Williams at Colorado, all pretty good players. Reggie Virgil at Texas Tech. Chase Soule at Iowa State. Jeff Caldwell at Cincinnati. And then you got Cam Vaughn on the fourth-team line at West Virginia. And I think these are all guys that have potential. You know, Luke Lysong in Arizona is another really good player. And then Jace Brown at Kansas State, I was surprised to see this low. But Cam Vaughn has a chance to shoot up this list, right, into second team, maybe even first team competition, depending on how much we need to throw it this year. I certainly think he has the tools to do it. We all saw his 40 time. He runs a 4.4. He's extremely quick. He's a very good maybe possibly an elite route runner when it's all said and done. He certainly runs a couple different routes really well. But, his tree needs to improve. If Cam Vaughn improves his overall tree, it has, everything else is there for him. Athleticism, the whole nine. So, he's a kid that I really look to as a possible breakout star in the Big 12 overall. So I would also add, if you're going to put a gun to my head, I'm going to say Logan Ramper is on this list before the year's over with. He may not deserve it preseason, but I think Logan Ramper has a chance to make a big move. I love that kid, 6'4", 220 pounds, and ran a 4.4 the other day. You can do something with that. Now, I don't know, is he ready? We'll see, but I think he's an intriguing prospect. Tight end, Joe Royer, Garrett Oakley, Michael Trigg, Tanner Koziol. Can't argue with any of those guys. Those are all really solid picks. Absolutely. Obviously, Grayson Barnes has got to be honorable mention. I think we'll see what he ends up doing. Ryan Ward's intriguing. We'll see what he looks like at West Virginia. Greg Ginross has probably the biggest wild card almost of any player on our team. If Greg Ginross realizes his potential, we're talking about a game-changing tight end for West Virginia. He's got everything you need from a measurable standpoint and from an athleticism standpoint. I don't know why he hasn't succeeded up until now. Those are answers I would love to know the answer to that. So All right. Let's go to break really quick. When we come back, we'll look at the rest of these. We'll run through them a little quicker. And then they picked a quarterback winner as well. I think that's interesting. Who do they pick to win the quarterback competition in Morgantown? We'll talk about it next on Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Monarch Money. When it comes to Monarch Money, they're doing it big this year. And if you've ever wished you could manage your money and make that easier, well, Monarch Money right now, you can do that. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one easy, convenient place so you can start managing your money and start building your wealth. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first purchase, guys. Do it now. Do it yesterday. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, guys, we are back here in Locked On West Virginia. Let me get back over to it. I guess I accidentally clicked off of it. Okay, back to the All-Big 12 team for Locked On West Virginia here in segment 2. Okay, so we're to the center spot. This is an interesting one because, I mean, good luck figuring out who the center is going to be for West Virginia this year. I think you've got multiple candidates for the job. Obviously, I think Landon Livingston is probably the leader in house by a slim margin right now, followed by Carson Lee, is who I would have there at number 2. As far as in the lead for that role. But yeah, for now, you got to give it to Livingston. I don't know that he is ready for all Big 12 yet. Maybe fourth team, I think he could have a very solid year. Maybe he has an incredible year. I have this is one of those, I just don't know, he could come in and have an incredible year and I wouldn't be shocked based off the history of our center spot recently as well. Or he could just be average and I wouldn't be shocked there either. I just don't know enough. Offensive line, no West Virginia players are going to be here. Not expecting any. It's just you'd be taking a shot in the dark. Obviously, if you had to pick somebody to possibly be here, I would probably go with Kimo Makaniole for now, based off what we've heard in the spring. Xavier Bosley would be a wild card along with Tykees Crawford as two other guys that maybe you look at and say could be at the All Big 12 slots by year's end. Carson Lee is another guy. I just don't know is he only going to play center or is he going to play guard? If Carson Lee's able to play guard, then I think he's got a shot. But I kind of thought he was making a run at that center job. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. On the defensive line, bunch of different things going on here. You've got David Bailey, Dominique Orange, Lee Hunter at Texas Tech, and Jimmori Robinson, first team for the defensive line. I have no problem with this at all. I think we all know Jimmori Robinson deserves to be there. He's, in my opinion, going to be the best pass rusher in the Big 12 this year. I said it earlier. It's on tape. You can watch it. He was getting doubled and sometimes even triple teamed at UTSA. He picked UTSA over Auburn guys in South Florida. So he had people wanting him from the very beginning of his career. And he's had a great career at UTSA, probably one of their all-time great players when it's all said. He is. So second team, you've got Trey Smith, Dante Corleone, man, I can't believe he's back at Cincinnati. That sucks. He's so good. CJ Fight. You got Nigel Kelly, Dean Miller at Kansas, Keanu Tanubasa, Skylar Gill Howard, Jackie Marshall at Baylor, Logan Fano at Utah, Carson Allen at Houston, Dallas Bakali at Utah, and Clayton Smith at Arizona State. On the defensive line, I think this is where we're going to get a guy or maybe another two guys in if we have the year I think we can have. Now, Eddie Vestorinen is a name that you think, he's consistency. If he stays injury free and has a consistent season, I think he can end up on that fourth team line, third team line, somewhere in there. But if you give me Cora McIntyre healthy, I think there's a kid that can really make an impact and get on one of those lines as well. So, I don't have a really problem with any of the people that are on the list. And, I don't know enough about all the other defensive linemen in the conference to actually have an educated guess on that anyway. I would love to know. I would love to, but my job is not to learn them. So, linebacker is interesting because, you've got Jacob Rodriguez, who's one of the best linebackers in the nation. Austin Romaine, the same thing. And so is Keaton Thomas at Baylor. All three of those guys are legit dogs, legit true number one linebackers. Glasgow at BYU had a pretty good year last year. Jack Kelly at BYU also had a good year last year. They've got that duo going. Will McLaughlin at Iowa State. TCU's got Nnamdi Obiazor. It's hard to say these names. Some of them. Lander Barton at Utah. Travion Barnes at Baylor. Keyshawn Elliott at Arizona State. You got Chase Wilson at West Virginia. Caleb Elarms or at TCU. Jake Gallaudet at Cincinnati. Brian McCoy at Oklahoma State. Cooper Abel at Iowa State. And Reginald Hughes at Colorado. Obviously, I have no problem with Chase Wilson being there, and I could see him possibly even moving up another rung. I think he's that good. He's at Colorado State. He's had several hundred tackles over his career there. He's an athletic sideline to sideline linebacker that's going to be a good player for us and probably be the captain of our defense in a lot of ways. Obviously, I think Ben Bogle's got a shot to make it there. You guys know I love Ben Bogle. It's very, very public about Ben Bogle. I think he's going to be opposite Chase Wilson, a very good player for us. I need to see what he can do in pass coverage. That's my biggest concern with him. But other than that, I'm obviously a big fan. So we'll see what happens. At corner, no surprise. The first name on the list is Michael Coates Jr. We're not shocked. I'm not shocked. You're not shocked. He's probably one of the hottest, names in the portal that we picked up. And I certainly think he's going to make a big impact in our secondary. There's no doubt about it. I don't have a problem with any of the other guys. Jontez Williams at Iowa State, Keith Abney at Arizona State, Bryce Pollock at Texas Tech, Maury Bamba at BYU, DJ McKinney, Colorado, Matthew McDoom. That's an all-time name right there. Matthew McDoom is just an incredible name. And Cam Smith at Oklahoma State. No problems with any of those guys. Michael Coates Jr. has got a chance to be an All-American at West Virginia. I do believe that. At safety, I have a problem with this list. I don't have a problem with Cooper at number one. I mean, he was maybe the best last year. Xavier Alford at Arizona State really, really turned on for them last year and was one of their leaders on that defense that led them all the way to the Big 12 title. Bud Clark at TCU, can't argue with that either. Cole Wisniewski at Texas Tech is a name I'm not familiar with. VJ Payne at Kansas State's good, but he's not better than Fred Perry. Let me just get that right out there right now, right away. I think Fred Perry should have been on the first team line. I'm surprised that he's not a little higher up. I think maybe it's the Jack State competition that holds him back here a little. But in my opinion, Fred Perry has a chance to be just an absolute stud this year at West Virginia. I'm happy he's on the list, don't get me wrong, but Fred Perry is a tone setter, a trendsetter, a leader, an awesome player, and we'll see. I think he's going to have one huge year for us playing that nickel spot. If you're going to give me another pick, and I'm going to need to take one based on this room, obviously Darren Lewis is a kid that I'm extremely high on. I think he was the most slept on, maybe the most slept on portal acquisition we have this offseason. Kiki Tarnu is another one that I think can make some noise. Jordan Walker is another one. Like, we have 3 or 4 safeties, and then that's not counting if Justin Harrington is 100% healthy. I've said it before. I think Justin Harrington has a chance to be an All-American for West Virginia. It just all depends on. We know he had a horrific knee injury. He didn't play much at Washington last year. So what's he going to look like? If he's back to normal, what he was at Oklahoma, he's an incredible piece and the most talented guy back there. But we don't know what he is anymore. So it's all depending on that, obviously. But yeah, if you're going to pull my feet to the fire, Darren Lewis definitely needs. Obviously, I wouldn't say preseason. I predict that he's going to show why he should have been on there. Specialist wise, you've got Will Farron, obviously at BYU, who's one of the best specialists in all college football, along with Palmer Williams at Baylor, by the way. Jeremiah Patterson, Arizona, Parker Kingston at BYU, Garrison Grimes at BYU, Lath Margin, Mason Fletcher at Cincinnati, getting tongue-tied here. Xavier Townsend at Iowa State's a name we've heard for years now. Josh Cameron at Baylor, Eli Stein at Cincinnati. I'm going to be honest here. You got Kyle Conradi at Iowa State, and then Ollie Straw at West Virginia. Then you got Preston Fox at West Virginia. So we actually had 8 guys on the list, and I miscounted because I overlooked Preston Fox somehow. But I guess because the only name I was actually looking for was Ollie Straw. So obviously Ollie Straw should be, in my opinion, I think he's the second best punter in the league. So I don't know why he's not at least up on the number 2 line here. He's such a good player. Actually, he gets overlooked a lot because he's a punter. But, I mean, we have one of the best punters in all of college football in Ollie Straw. So we're lucky to have him. Certainly, I think he's going to make an impact. And then Preston Fox, absolutely he deserves to be on here. He just doesn't return a lot of punts, really. He's sure-handed. He doesn't drop any. I mean, he'll get you 10 or 15 yards sometimes. And I'm sure he could break one if he was given a chance. But we've never really seen him do that. So it's like, on one hand, I understand why he's there because of consistency. On the other hand, it's like, if you give me a kid like Sincere Bowers, put him back there. Like that's a kid that you put back there. I could see making some big noise. So curious to know how you feel about this, guys. There's a lot of kids on the list, 8 in total for West Virginia. But I thought West Virginia was supposed to suck. It kind of doesn't make any sense, does it? It's almost like we brought in good players, like I thought we did. Pretty wild. Let's go to break. We'll come back and see who they picked to win the quarterback job. It's pretty crazy. All right, guys, we are back here in Locked On West Virginia. Thanks for joining in. So let's get to this list here as we roll through. And by the way, hit the like button if you can before you leave. Share the video out if you're able to as well. And subscribe if you're new around here. We're giving the last 150 people a shot to win $50 over Cash App, PayPal, or whatever. And we've got about 40 people left, I think, that can subscribe to the channel. So before we hit 5,000. So if you want to be a part of that, definitely hit that subscribe button if you're not already. All right. So this is picking every Big 12 starting quarterback ahead of 2025. Pete Nakos. Arizona, Noah Fafita. Not a surprise there. Sam Levitt at Arizona State. I would have never guessed that. Nor would I have guessed Sawyer Robinson at Baylor. Now, McKay Hillstead is an interesting name at BYU because we know BYU lost Jake Retzloff. So for having premarital sex, which is just you don't have that on your list of things to get in trouble for, but there he is. Cincinnati, Brennan Sorsby, who had a great year for them last year, 2,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, only 7 picks. He's a kid that can really take a big step up this year as well. And I think Cincinnati fans are excited about the future for him. Caden Salter's a name I think would have been so beautiful with West Virginia in Rich Rod's offense. I wanted to see it. I understand why he went to Colorado and all that. But, he won the job, so I think he will win the job. Houston, Connor Wegman, however you want to say it. The Louisiana, I don't know how he's got one of them. He talks like Pac-Man Jones does, like that real strong Southern accent. Like if you put me on the phone with Connor Wegman, I would think he was black because of his accent, the way he speaks. It's pretty wild. If you've never heard him talk, it kind of catches you off guard just because it doesn't look like it should come out of his body. You know what I'm saying? Not saying there's anything wrong with that. Not saying there's anything wrong with having an accent like that. But yeah, that's one of the thing I remember about Connor Weigman is his accent is just it just throws you for a loop. Obviously, he's got a lot of talent. I mean, he was a 5-star kid, so there's no doubt that Houston has done a great job picking him up. He's a dual threat, and we'll see what he does there at Houston. I wonder who's going to win the Iowa State job. Well, Rocco Becht obviously going to win that job. No shock there. I wonder who's going to win the Kansas job. Oh, Jalen Daniels, who's been there for 14 years now, is going to be there. I mean, he has thrown for 6,751 yards and 45 touchdowns over his career. That's insane, man. That's a lot. It's like Kellen Moore or whatever his name was at BYU, or not BYU, but Boise State there a few years back. Kansas State, I wonder who's going to win that job. Avery Johnson, of course, who just had an incredible year for them last year as well, although he had 10 interceptions. So he's got to cut down on that. 605 yards, 7 touchdowns on the ground is a nice. Here's one that shocked me a little bit. Zane Flores expected to win this job, and I've been told that from people that are inside the building at – oops, messed up, guys. Sorry. I've been told that from people inside the building at not like coaches, but like media that cover them. Like there's a lot of people that think Zane Flores is going to win that job over Haas Haney, who I thought was the second coming when he went to portal, and I thought West Virginia should have went after. Maybe Haas Haney's a little too young for this job, but I was kind of surprised to see this one here. Josh Hoover, who's going to win this job? You like if you look at the Big 12 quarterbacks wise, like I'm talking about how many of these guys would I put in the top 25? Well, if you talk about Noah Fifita 2 years ago, you would say him. Last year, not so much. If he gets back to that, he could be there. Obviously, Sam Levitt's a top 10 quarterback. Sawyer Robinson's a top 10 quarterback. He's a top 10 quarterback based on every look at measurable. I mean, 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 8 picks last year. 230 yards and 4 scores. And he's only going to be better. McKay Hillstead obviously is not, he's going to come in and play his first big-time ball. We know about Sorsby and how good he was last year. So, like, Salter comes in. He's a big-time player. Weigman's big-time. Becht is top 25. Daniels can be top 25 if he's healthy. Avery Johnson's top 25, right? I mean, in my opinion. And then you kind of fall off a little bit from there. Baron Morton, Josh Hoover. So these are your guys that have a lot of potential. But Texas Tech's got Baron Morton. Obviously, he's going to be there again. If you'll remember, he got his first start against West Virginia 2 years ago, maybe 3. It's crazy. It's been that long ago. UCF Taven Jackson, I'm sorry, from FAU. Not FAU, Indiana. FAU quarterback Cam Fancher, but I thought, obviously didn't Fancher used to play at Marshall? Am I wrong about this? Yeah, he played at Marshall before. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, Fancher's talented. I don't know what he's going to do at UCF, but certainly, they've got some options there. Curtis Rourke was I'm not exactly sure why his name's in there. Oh, it's basing on what he did in Indiana. Okay. That was confusing me. Like Curtis Rourke, he's in Indiana. Utah, Devin Dampier. Well, that's a big shocker. He only rushed for over 1,000 yards. 1,100 yards and 15 touchdowns, Devin Dampier. Just an incredible year on the ground for him. West Virginia, projected for Nico Marchiol. So Texas A&M transfer Jalen Henderson via the portal. Nico Marchiol returns after starting 2 games last year and has thrown for 742 yards career and 8 touchdowns. No losses, by the way. And Henderson has not seen action since 2023. So they're projecting Nico Marchiol to win the job. Not saying I'm shocked. Not saying it shouldn't happen either. Going to be interesting to see what happens, man. Like I said before, I think Scotty Fox could factor in if neither of those guys work out. Heard a lot of great things about Scotty. So that's pretty much all I got, guys. I don't have much left for today. There was only a few topics out there worthy of talking about, and this is one of them. So hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network where we talk about your team every single day. If you can do me a favor, though, check out the Locked On Portal with Brian Smith, like I've said over and over again now, is killing it literally over there, just having a huge monster couple months. So check him out. He's working really hard. He puts up updates all the time when people commit places. He's really good when it comes to keeping track of recruiting and things like that. He knows his stuff. So he'll text me every now and again when we get somebody and say, hey, that's a good player or whatever. So check out Brian when you get a chance. And I think overall that's pretty much it. I mean, I could go over the rankings if you wanted me to, but it's no secret that Phil Steele picked West Virginia. Let's see, 13th. Yeah. So, I have an issue with it, but not a big one. I understand why they're there. So, oh well. By the way, for those of you just joining in, Jimmori Robinson not coming on tonight. Obviously, at this point, you probably realize that. It's not Jimmori's fault. I've said that too. He's a great guy. And at the end of the day, we agreed on something. And then somebody else came in and said, no, that's probably not something you should do or whatever. So we've had to push this back a couple days until, this can be fixed. So it's not that he's not allowed to come on or anything like that. Like they can't. First of all, they're not allowed to tell him that anyways due to the Baker Act. And I'm not saying they are trying to. By the way, I'm gonna get myself in trouble. But it's just a frustration. It's just a frustration overall because at the end of the day, it's like my butt's on the line. Like I have hyped this up to happen, and what do I tell everybody now? So I hope you guys can understand. It's extremely frustrating for me. Like it makes me not even want to deal with the interviews, to be honest, anymore. Because let's just break it down really quick. If I pay somebody $300, $400 to come on an NIL deal here, I lose money. I don't make $400 an episode, right? Obviously. So it's like, I'm doing it for y'all more than me. I like to have these interviews on my channel portfolio. But as far as unless I can get the money donated or not, it's like there's a lot of times where it just comes out of my pocket, which I'm okay with. It's just, at a certain point I have to start to realize that maybe the interviews aren't all that I thought they were cracked up to be. And it's not like, we would probably had a similar number as right now, 300-400 people watching. Maybe would have had more. I don't know. But I'm frustrated, guys. I'm frustrated over it just because I've worked really hard to get into this position. And, I feel like I've made a couple mistakes, things that I've maybe said or in the past and, about people that are at the university that have power over me. And maybe I shouldn't have done those things. But I'm trying to word my words carefully here because I don't want to make things worse on myself. But, I've had just so many things happen lately that are extremely frustrating from a standpoint that I just have no control. over the outcome. You know, I could totally take it on the chin if I did something wrong, or it's not, it's not that I did something wrong though. It's that sometimes people just disagree with you about certain things. That's different than being wrong, right? If I disagree with you, doesn't mean you're in the wrong legally or technically, right? It means that we just don't agree about certain things. So, I shouldn't put myself in these positions to need this or that from certain people that doesn't like me. And I get it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea for sure. I acknowledge that all the time. I've got hot piss meters and I talk about all this different stuff. Like I get it. I'm definitely not everybody's cup of tea. I talk about my life to a vast extent. I talk about my history as an addict like very extensively because I believe I've been called to do so. Like as far as to help the next person that's still suffering or whatever. But there are people that don't like that. They don't like the fact that I'm succeeding and at this point, right? So there's a lot to it. I understand that I've created my own sets of issues and things too, though. So I appreciate you guys very much for listening to me and hearing me out. Let me vent a little bit here. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I'm not saying that anybody like it's not Rim Baker or anybody like that. Like it's nothing like that. I'm not saying that. But there are people that make decisions that can influence whether or not I get to do certain things. And I just never would have guessed. So, like it's pretty crazy. But all I ask for is your support. Definitely like the video, share it out if you get a chance. And we're going to make videos every single day, no matter what, no matter who likes it, no matter who likes us. Because one thing I can control what I can control, right? And I have to remind myself that, like, if it's out of my control, it's out of my control, and I just have to begin the process of acceptance with some of this stuff. So, all right, guys. I appreciate y'all very much for listening to me, and if you can, like I said, like the video before you leave, subscribe, and share the thing out. And we'll talk to you next time. Have a great rest of your weekend. Hope your fourth went okay, and I'm out.